To our amazing Cheating Tales Lab family, welcome and thank you for joining us. Your support means the world. Quick question, where are you listening from today? Which city? Which country? Drop it below. Now, let's dive into today's story. Liam Reynolds stared at his phone, reading the message for the sixth time as rain pounded against his office window. The hospital had called again. His father's condition had deteriorated further, and there wasn't much time left. Liam ran a hand through his salt and pepper hair, his broad shoulders sagging beneath his tailored suit. At 42, he'd built his architectural firm from nothing into one of Boston's most respected boutiques. But right now, none of that mattered. William Reynolds Sr., once a towering figure who had single-handedly raised Liam after his mother abandoned them when he was 8, was now withering away in a hospital bed, his body ravaged by stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors had given him 3 months. That was 5 months ago. Liam closed his laptop and grabbed his jacket. "Cancel my appointments for the rest of the week, Darlene," he told his assistant as he headed for the door. "Your wife called twice," Darlene replied, her eyes filled with sympathy. She'd been with him since the beginning, had watched him build his life brick by brick. She sounded agitated. Liam nodded grimly. He'd been married to Vanessa for 12 years, and things had been good. At least he thought they had, until his father's diagnosis 6 months ago. Since then, Vanessa's attitude had shifted dramatically. The loving, supportive wife he thought he knew had revealed a different face. He drove through the rain-slicked streets to Massachusetts General Hospital, his mind racing. When he arrived at his father's room, Dr. Patel was waiting. "His kidney function is declining rapidly, Mr. Reynolds," she explained. "We can continue dialysis, but honestly, your father would be more comfortable in a home setting with hospice care at this point." Liam looked through the window at his father, once 6 feet 4 inches and 220 pounds of pure strength, now barely recognizable at half that weight. William Sr. had been a construction foreman his entire life, working with his hands, building things that would last. He'd taught Liam everything he knew about construction, which had driven Liam to become an architect. "I'll take him home," Liam decided. "My home." When Liam returned to the spacious Beacon Hill brownstone he shared with Vanessa, he found her waiting in the kitchen, arms crossed, perfectly manicured nails tapping against her forearm. At 38, Vanessa Monroe Reynolds remained stunning, her blonde hair expertly highlighted, her figure maintained by rigorous Pilates sessions and carefully monitored meals. "You're bringing him here, aren't you?" she asked, her tone flat. Liam set his keys down. "He's dying, Vanessa. He needs family around him." "We discussed this," she said. "There are excellent hospice facilities." "He's my father," Liam interrupted. "The man who worked double shifts for 20 years to put me through college and grad school. He's coming home with me." Vanessa's perfectly sculpted eyebrows rose. "This isn't just your home, Liam. It's mine too. And I didn't sign up to be a caretaker. I'm not asking you to be. I'm hiring a nurse." "And where exactly is he going to stay?" "The guest room is my home office." Liam stared at his wife, seeing something in her eyes he'd never noticed before, a coldness that chilled him more than the November rain. "We have 3 spare bedrooms, Vanessa. I think we can manage." As the days passed, the tension in the house grew thicker. William Sr. moved in, along with a hospital bed, oxygen tanks, and a private nurse named Miguel who came daily. Vanessa made herself scarce, suddenly busy with charity events and lunches with friends Liam had never heard of. One evening, Liam returned from a meeting to find Miguel waiting anxiously. "Mr. Reynolds, your wife." The nurse hesitated. "She and your father had an argument. She was very upset about the medication schedule interfering with a dinner party she's planning." Liam found his father resting, his breathing labored but steady. "Don't worry about me, son," William Sr. said, his once booming voice now a rasp. "Vanessa's got her reasons." "What reasons could possibly justify treating you this way?" Liam asked. His father's eyes, still sharp despite his failing body, met his. "People show you who they really are when things get hard. Your mother was the same way, couldn't handle difficulty, always wanted everything perfect. When you got sick with pneumonia as a kid, she just checked out. A month later, she was gone." Liam sat beside his father's bed, the weight of realization settling onto his shoulders. Had he made the same mistake as his father? Married a woman who only wanted the good times? That night, when Vanessa returned home smelling of expensive perfume and wine, Liam confronted her in their bedroom. "You need to show my father some basic respect," he said quietly. Vanessa rolled her eyes as she removed her earrings. "He's ruining our lives, Liam. We haven't had anyone over in weeks. The house smells like medicine and sickness. This isn't what I signed up for." "Marriage vows traditionally include in sickness and in health," Liam replied. "That doesn't just apply to us. It extends to our families." Vanessa's laugh was brittle. "We're not living in the 1950s. I have my own life, my own needs." As she disappeared into their walk-in closet, Liam noticed her phone light up on the nightstand. A text message appeared from someone saved as B. "Miss you already. Same time Thursday." Something cold and hard formed in Liam's stomach. He said nothing, but later that night, while Vanessa slept, he checked her phone. Dozens of messages between her and B. Intimate, explicit messages that left no doubt. Vanessa had been having an affair for at least 3 months, possibly longer. Liam didn't sleep that night. Instead, he sat in the kitchen, thinking about the life he'd built and the woman he thought he knew. By morning, he had made a decision. He would confront her, but first, he needed more information. He needed to know exactly what he was dealing with. Chapter 2. Revelations and Ultimatums. Liam spent the next week in a state of controlled observation. He hired a private investigator named Renata Martinez, a former Boston PD detective with a reputation for discretion and thoroughness. She began tracking Vanessa's movements, photographing her meetings with B, who turned out to be Bryce Donovan, a plastic surgeon with a practice in Cambridge. "They meet at the Langham Hotel every Tuesday and Thursday," Renata reported, showing Liam photographs of Vanessa and Bryce entering and leaving the hotel. "Been going on for about 4 months, based on the hotel records I accessed." For months, right around the time William Sr.'s condition had worsened and Liam had first broached the subject of moving him into their home. "Anything else I should know?" Liam asked, his voice steady despite the churning in his gut. Renata hesitated, then passed him another folder. "Dr. Donovan isn't just having an affair with your wife. He's been named in 2 malpractice suits that were settled quietly. He has a reputation for dating his patients, Mrs. Reynolds included." Liam looked up sharply. Vanessa was his patient? Botox, fillers, and according to my source at his office, they've been discussing a more extensive facelift scheduled for next month. The pieces were falling into place. Vanessa's sudden obsession with looking younger, her secretive phone calls, her unexplained expenses. Liam thanked Renata and paid her final invoice, adding a generous bonus. That evening, Liam sat with his father, whose lucid moments were becoming fewer and farther between. "Dad, I need your advice," Liam said softly. William Sr. opened his eyes, focusing with effort. "About Vanessa?" Liam nodded, not surprised that his father had noticed. William Sr. had always been perceptive. "She's having an affair," Liam said simply. His father's withered hand reached for his. "I'm sorry, son. What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet. Part of me wants to confront her, throw her out, but another part wants to understand why. Where did I go wrong?" William Sr. shook his head weakly. "You didn't. Some people are just wired wrong, Liam. They take, and when you need something from them, they bolt." He coughed, a rattling sound that worried Liam. "Your mother was like that. Beautiful, charming, empty inside." The next day, Miguel called Liam at work, his voice urgent. "Mr. Reynolds, you need to come home. Your wife, she's threatening to fire me, and your father is very upset." Liam raced home to find Vanessa in the middle of the living room, surrounded by shopping bags, her face flushed with anger. "This has gone far enough," she spat when she saw him. "Your father's nurse rescheduled his medication, so it happened during my book club meeting here, the first social event I've been able to have in our home in months. It was humiliating having Miguel interrupt us to administer those pills and change his bedpan." Liam kept his voice level. "Miguel is following the doctor's orders for pain management. Dad needs his medication at specific times. Then he needs to be in a facility that can handle that." Vanessa shouted. "I'm tired of living in a hospice, Liam. I want my life back." "Your life?" Liam repeated. "The one where you're sleeping with Dr. Donovan at the Langham twice a week." Vanessa's face went white, then red. For a moment, she seemed at a loss for words, but she recovered quickly. "You had me followed? How dare you invade my privacy? How dare I? You're having an affair, Vanessa. You've turned your back on our marriage vows, on the life we built together." "What life?" she shot back. You've been obsessed with your father since his diagnosis. Everything is about him. Our vacations canceled, our social life destroyed. I have needs, Liam. And Bryce meets those needs, does he? Your plastic surgeon. Is that ethical, him sleeping with his patients? A new voice interrupted their argument, weak but commanding. Enough. William Sr. stood in the doorway of his room, leaning heavily on his walker, Miguel hovering anxiously behind him. William, you shouldn't be out of bed, Liam said, moving to help his father. I needed to say something, William Sr. rasped. Vanessa, I'm sorry my being here has disrupted your life. If it would be better, I can look into a hospice facility. Liam started to protest, but his father raised a shaking hand. No, son. I won't be the wedge that drives you apart, even though. He stopped, overcome by a coughing fit. When he recovered, he fixed Vanessa with a surprisingly sharp gaze. Even though it seems to me that Wedge was there long before I arrived. Vanessa's expression hardened. Finally, some sense. Yes, a hospice would be better for everyone. No, Liam said firmly. Dad stays here with me. Vanessa stared at him, then a cold smile spread across her face. Fine. Then I'm giving you a choice, Liam. It's him or me. Decide now. Vanessa, Liam began, but she cut him off. No, I'm done with half measures. Either he goes to a hospice facility by the end of the week, or I'm filing for divorce. A heavy silence fell over the room. Miguel quietly helped William Sr. back to his bed, leaving Liam and Vanessa alone in their standoff. You don't mean that, Liam finally said. Vanessa walked to the side table where William Sr.'s medications were arranged in neat rows. With a sudden, violent movement, she swept them to the floor, pills scattering across the hardwood. Your pathetic cancer-ridden father isn't moving in with us, she screamed, throwing his pain medication bottle across the room where it shattered against the wall. Choose him or me. Liam stared at the woman before him, this stranger wearing his wife's face, and felt something break inside him. Not his heart. Something else. The illusion that he had ever really known her. You've made the choice very easy, he said quietly. That night, after Vanessa had gone to bed, Liam made several phone calls. The first was to his lawyer, Preston Washington, who had been a friend since college. The second was to his banker. The third was to a real estate agent he trusted. By morning, he had a plan. Chapter 3, The Decision. The next day, Liam took a rare day off work and spent it making arrangements. First, he met with Preston Washington at his downtown office, laying out everything he knew about Vanessa's affair and her ultimatum. I want to file for divorce, Liam said, and I want to protect my assets as much as possible. Preston, a tall black man with prematurely gray hair and kind eyes, listened carefully. Massachusetts is an equitable distribution state, not a community property state. That means the court will divide marital assets fairly, not necessarily equally. Given her infidelity and the circumstances, we have a strong case for a favorable distribution. What do I do first? Liam asked. Document everything. The affair, her treatment of your father, the ultimatum. Start separating your finances, legally. Don't try to hide assets. That'll backfire. Just move what's clearly yours to separate accounts. Liam nodded. There's something else. My brownstone, the one we live in. I bought it before we were married. It's in my name only. Preston raised an eyebrow. That helps. Let me draft the papers. Don't serve them yet, though. Timing will be important here. After leaving Preston's office, Liam visited a bank where he and Vanessa didn't have accounts. He opened a new account in his name only and transferred half of their joint savings into it, an amount that represented his premarital assets and his earnings during the marriage. He left the other half untouched. He wasn't trying to rob Vanessa. He just wanted to protect what was rightfully his. Next, he met with a real estate agent named Nora Hernandez about a property he'd spotted online, a spacious, single-story house in Lexington with a beautiful garden. It's perfect for my needs, Liam told Nora after viewing the house. Single level for my father's wheelchair, a separate in-law suite with its own bathroom for his nurse, and close to excellent medical facilities. It's priced to sell, Nora warned. There are already 2 other offers. I'll pay cash, and I can close in 2 weeks, Liam replied. By the end of the day, his offer had been accepted. For the next week, Liam maintained a facade of normalcy at home. He went to work, visited with his father, and barely interacted with Vanessa, who seemed to believe she had won their standoff. She mentioned hospice facilities at dinner, casually dropping brochures on the table. I've made arrangements to visit 3 places this weekend, she said. The Mayfield Center has an excellent reputation. Liam nodded noncommittally. I'm sure it does. On Friday, Vanessa informed him she was spending the day at a spa in preparation for a charity gala that evening. Don't wait up, she said. These things always run late. Liam knew from Renata's reports that Vanessa was actually meeting Bryce at his lake house in New Hampshire for the weekend. They'd done this twice before, with Vanessa using charity events as her cover. The moment Vanessa's car pulled away from the house, Liam's plans sprang into action. 3 moving trucks arrived, along with a team of professional packers. Miguel helped coordinate a medical transport service for William Sr., who was moved carefully to the new house in Lexington where a hospital bed had already been set up. The movers worked efficiently, following Liam's detailed instructions about which items to take and which to leave behind. Personal items, family heirlooms, his clothing and possessions, his office equipment, all loaded and transported to the new house. He left behind all of Vanessa's belongings and the furniture and art she had selected. In the master bedroom, Liam placed an envelope on Vanessa's pillow. Inside were divorce papers, photos documenting her affair with Bryce, and a typed note. Vanessa, you forced me to choose between my dying father and our marriage. Silently, I transferred half our assets to my account. When you return from your spa day, the house is empty except for divorce papers, evidence of your affair, with a note, I choose him. Enjoy the empty house and emptier life. The brownstone is in my name, as you know, but you may continue to live here until the divorce is finalized. After that, it will be sold, and you'll receive your fair share according to the law. I won't fight you on material possessions. Take what you want from what remains. But know this, I won't be manipulated or betrayed any longer. Liam. By Sunday evening, Liam and William Sr. were settled in the Lexington house. Miguel had helped arrange the new space to replicate the familiar setup from the brownstone, making the transition easier for William Sr. Are you sure about this, son? William Sr. asked as Liam adjusted his pillows. Leaving your home, your life? Liam smiled genuinely for the first time in weeks. That wasn't my home, Dad. That was a showcase Vanessa created. This, he gestured around them. This is a home, where family comes first. His phone had been buzzing incessantly since Saturday night, when Vanessa had presumably returned to find the house half empty and the divorce papers. He had ignored her calls and texts, which had evolved from confusion to outrage to threats. The latest text read, You can't do this to me. I've called my lawyer. You'll regret this. Liam turned off his phone and sat beside his father's bed. There would be time to deal with Vanessa and her threats tomorrow. Tonight was for family. Tell me about the house where you grew up, he asked his father. The one in Maine with the big oak tree. As William Sr.'s raspy voice filled the room with stories of the past, Liam knew he had made the right choice. The road ahead would be difficult. Vanessa wouldn't go quietly, and his father's condition would only worsen. But for the first time in months, Liam felt at peace with his decisions. What he didn't know yet was that Vanessa's rage would trigger a chain of events that would test him in ways he couldn't imagine, forcing him to become someone he never thought he could be. Chapter 4. New Foundations. 3 weeks after leaving the brownstone, Liam sat in the sunny kitchen of his Lexington home, reviewing designs for a new project, a community center in Dorchester that would provide after-school programs for underprivileged youth. This project was personal for him. His father had worked on similar community buildings throughout his career. The house had quickly become a sanctuary. William Sr. seemed more comfortable here, his pain somewhat more manageable in the peaceful setting. The spacious garden, visible from his bedroom window, gave him something beautiful to look at during his waking hours. Liam's phone rang. Preston Washington, his lawyer. Vanessa's attorney reached out. Preston said without preamble, She's contesting everything. The division of assets, the brownstone, even your father's medical expenses which she claims have depleted marital resources. Liam sighed. I'm not surprised. What's our counter? We document the affair thoroughly. Massachusetts courts consider marital misconduct in property division. Plus, we emphasize that the brownstone was purchased before marriage with inherited funds. It's solid. After hanging up, Liam checked on his father. William Sr. was having one of his better days, sitting up in a chair by the window while Miguel changed his bedding. How's the divorce circus? William Sr. asked, his voice weak but his eyes alert. Liam smiled wryly. About what you'd expect. Vanessa's fighting for everything. She won't stop, you know, his father said. Women like her and your mother. They see relationships as transactions. When the deal doesn't benefit them anymore, they become ruthless. Miguel discreetly left the room, giving them privacy. I can handle Vanessa, Liam assured his father. William Sr. shook his head slowly. Don't underestimate her. Your mother took everything she could when she left. Jewelry I'd given her, cash I'd saved for your college, even the car I'd just paid off. Then she came back years later wanting more when she heard I'd gotten a settlement for my back injury. This was news to Liam. Mom came back? When? You were in college. I never told you. She showed up at the house, all smiles and fake remorse, talking about reconciliation. 2 weeks later, she disappeared again, along with the settlement money I kept in the home safe. Liam digested this information quietly. He'd always known his mother had abandoned them, but he'd never understood the full extent of her calculation. What did you do? He finally asked. A ghost of a smile crossed William Sr.'s face. Let's just say she never bothered us again. Before Liam could ask what he meant, the doorbell rang. Through the security camera feed on his phone, Liam saw a courier with a package. He excused himself to answer the door. The delivery was a thick envelope from Vanessa's attorney. Inside was a formal counterproposal to his divorce filing, demanding 60% of all assets, full ownership of the brownstone, and substantial alimony. Attached was a personal note from Vanessa. Liam, you humiliated me. Do you know what it was like coming home to find half our home emptied out? My friends have been whispering behind my back. Bryce has ended things, claiming he doesn't want to be involved in a messy divorce. You've ruined my life, so I'm going to take everything I can from yours. By the time I'm done, you'll be living in an apartment and working for someone else because you won't be able to afford your firm's overhead anymore. This is your last chance to negotiate reasonably before I tell the world about how you abandoned your mentally unstable wife to care for your father instead of putting him in proper medical care. How does that sound for your professional reputation? Vanessa, the threat was clear. Liam showed the note to Preston during their meeting the next day. This is actually helpful to us, Preston said. It demonstrates malicious intent. Keep everything she sends you. Later that week, Liam received a call from an unexpected source, Dr. Laura Burke, a therapist who worked primarily with cancer patients and their families. She had been recommended by Dr. Patel for William Sr., but Liam had put off contacting her, overwhelmed with the move and divorce proceedings. Mr. Reynolds, I understand you're dealing with a lot right now, Dr. Burke said. But I think I could help both you and your father navigate this difficult time. Something in her straightforward, compassionate tone resonated with Liam. He agreed to an initial consultation at the house. Dr. Burke arrived the following day, a woman in her 50s with silver-streaked brown hair and intelligent green eyes. She spent an hour with William Sr. and then sat with Liam in the kitchen. Your father is processing not just his illness, but a sense of guilt over your divorce, she explained. He believes he's caused the breakdown of your marriage. That's not true, Liam protested. Vanessa made her choices long before Dad got sick. Dr. Burke nodded. I know that, and intellectually, your father knows that too. But emotions aren't always logical. I'd like to work with both of you weekly, if you're open to it. Liam agreed, recognizing the wisdom in her suggestion. As she was leaving, Dr. Burke paused. One more thing, Mr. Reynolds. I understand your wife is making threats about your reputation. If it would help, I'd be willing to document your father's care arrangements and your dedication to his well-being. Liam was touched by the offer. Thank you, but I'm hoping it won't come to that. Unfortunately, it did come to that sooner than expected. The following Monday, Liam arrived at his office to find his assistant, Darlene, waiting with a concerned expression. You need to see this, she said, handing him a printout of an article from a local lifestyle blog that covered Boston's social scene. The headline read, Prominent Architect Abandons Wife, Empties Home While She's Away. The article, clearly fed information by Vanessa, painted Liam as a callous husband who had betrayed his wife by emptying their home and filing for divorce without warning. There was no mention of Vanessa's affair or her ultimatum about his father. It gets worse, Darlene said, gesturing to his computer. She's been calling clients. Liam logged into his email to find messages from 3 significant clients expressing concern about the personal issues affecting him and questioning his ability to focus on their projects. Set up meetings with each of them, Liam instructed Darlene. In person, as soon as possible. Over the next few days, Liam worked tirelessly to reassure his clients that his personal situation would not impact his professional commitments. Most were understanding, but one, a major waterfront development that would have been his firm's biggest project to date, decided to go in another direction. The loss of that contract was a significant blow, both financially and to his professional reputation. When he told Preston about it, his lawyer was blunt. "This is just the beginning," Preston warned. "Vanessa seems determined to hurt you any way she can. We need to be prepared for worse." "What could be worse than attacking my livelihood?" Liam asked. Preston's expression was grim. "If she's willing to go after your business, what's to stop her from going after your father?" The warning sent a chill through Liam. That night, he installed additional security cameras around the house and upgraded the alarm system. He also hired a part-time security guard to be present whenever he wasn't home. As William Sr.'s condition continued to deteriorate, Dr. Burke became an unexpected source of strength for both of them. Her weekly visits provided not just therapeutic support, but practical advice on pain management and emotional preparation for the inevitable. "You're handling this remarkably well," she told Liam during one session. "Many people in your situation would be overwhelmed." Liam shrugged. "I don't have the luxury of falling apart. Dad needs me, and I have a business to run." Dr. Burke studied him thoughtfully. "It's okay to acknowledge your own pain, Liam. The betrayal by your wife, the stress of the divorce, watching your father suffer, that's a tremendous burden." "I'll deal with my feelings later," Liam said firmly. "Right now, I need to stay focused." What he didn't tell Dr. Burke was that beneath his composed exterior, a slow-burning rage was building. Rage at Vanessa for her betrayal, at Bryce for his role in the affair, and at a world that would take his father from him too soon. That rage would soon find its purpose. Chapter 5. Escalation. 6 weeks into the divorce proceedings, Liam arrived at the courthouse for a preliminary hearing on asset division. As he approached the courthouse steps with Preston, he spotted Vanessa and her attorney, a sharp-featured woman named Diane Lawford, known for her aggressive tactics in high-profile divorces. Vanessa looked immaculate in a conservative navy suit, her expression appropriately somber, the perfect picture of a wronged wife. She caught Liam's eye and gave him a cold smile. Inside, as the hearing began, Diane Lawford painted a picture of Vanessa as a devoted wife blindsided by her husband's cruel abandonment. "My client returned home from a day of self-care, desperately needed after weeks of helping care for her father-in-law, to find her home emptied of valuables and a divorce notice on her pillow," Lawford told the judge. Mr. Reynolds had been planning this ambush for weeks, all while Ms. Monroe Reynolds was supporting his decision to bring his terminal father into their home. Preston's rebuttal was measured but damning. He presented evidence of Vanessa's affair, including hotel receipts and photographs. He also produced the threatening note she had sent and documentation of her attempts to damage Liam's professional reputation. Furthermore, Preston continued, "My client has evidence that Ms. Monroe Reynolds gave him an ultimatum to choose between her and his dying father. That was the precipitating event for this divorce, not some calculated ambush, as opposing counsel suggests." The judge, an older woman with shrewd eyes, listened carefully to both sides before speaking. "This is clearly going to be a contentious divorce," she noted dryly. "I'm ordering a freeze on major assets pending further hearings. The brownstone may not be sold until this court determines rightful ownership. And," she looked pointedly at both Liam and Vanessa, "I strongly advise both parties to refrain from actions that could be construed as harassment or defamation. This court takes a dim view of using the media or business contacts as weapons in divorce proceedings." Outside the courthouse, Liam was approached by a reporter from the Boston Globe. "Mr. Reynolds, do you have any comment on your wife's allegations that you abandoned her to care for your father?" Before Liam could respond, Preston stepped in. "My client has no comment at this time except to say that he categorically denies Ms. Monroe's characterization of events. The facts will become clear during the legal proceedings." As they walked away, Liam spotted a familiar figure watching from across the street, Bryce Donovan, Vanessa's lover. The plastic surgeon was leaning against an expensive sports car, his expression unreadable. When he caught Liam looking, he straightened and quickly got into his car. "That's him, isn't it?" Preston asked, following Liam's gaze. "The boyfriend." "Ex-boyfriend, apparently," Liam replied, remembering Vanessa's note about Bryce sending things. "Though I'm curious why he's here." The answer came 2 days later when Liam received a call from Renata Martinez, a private investigator. "I've been keeping tabs on your wife as requested," Renata said. "She and Dr. Donovan are back together. They were at his lake house all weekend." "So much for him wanting to avoid a messy divorce," Liam muttered. "There's more," Renata continued. "They met with someone Saturday night, a man named Trevor Daniels. He's a former patient of Dr. Donovan's, but he's also a guy with a reputation for being a fixer of sorts." "What kind of fixer?" Liam asked, suddenly alert. "The kind who does things just on the edge of legal. Background checks that dig deeper than they should, surveillance that crosses lines, occasional accidents that benefit his clients." A sense of foreboding settled over Liam. "They're planning something." "Probably," Renata agreed. "Want me to dig deeper into this Daniels character?" "Yes," Liam replied immediately, "and increase the surveillance on Vanessa and Bryce. I need to know what they're up to." The next morning, Liam woke to the sound of his phone buzzing insistently. It was Miguel, his voice tight with concern. "Mr. Reynolds, someone's been in the house. Your father's medication has been tampered with." Liam was instantly alert. "What do you mean, tampered with?" "The seals on his new prescriptions were broken. I noticed when I went to give him his morning dose." "Don't give him anything from those bottles," Liam ordered, already getting dressed. "Use the backup supply we keep in the safe." "I'll be right there." Liam raced home, his mind spinning with possibilities. Had someone actually tried to harm his father? The security alarm hadn't been triggered, which meant either the intruder knew the code or was sophisticated enough to bypass it. When he arrived, Miguel showed him the medication bottles. The safety seals were indeed broken, almost imperceptibly, but definitely tampered with. "I'm calling the police," Liam said, reaching for his phone. "Wait," Miguel cautioned. "We don't know for sure that anything was done to the medication. If we call the police and it turns out to be nothing, it could be stressful for your father." Liam hesitated, then nodded. "You're right. Let's have the medication tested first." He contacted a private laboratory that specialized in pharmaceutical testing and arranged for immediate analysis of the medication. In the meantime, he doubled the security at the house, adding cameras inside as well as outside and changing all the alarm codes. The lab results came back 2 days later. The medication had indeed been tampered with. The pain relievers had been replaced with pills containing dangerously high doses of sedatives that, given William Sr.'s weakened state, could have caused respiratory failure. Liam was stunned. He had expected Vanessa to fight dirty in the divorce, but he never imagined she would target his father directly. "We need to go to the police," Miguel insisted when Liam showed him the results. "Not yet," Liam said, his voice hard. "We don't have proof of who did this, but I'm going to find out." He called Renata Martinez and shared what had happened. "This has Daniels written all over it," she said grimly. "He's known for this kind of subtle approach. Nothing that can be easily traced back to him." "I need evidence," Liam told her. "Concrete proof that Vanessa and Bryce hired this man to hurt my father." "That won't be easy," Renata warned. "Daniels is careful. He doesn't leave paper trails." "I don't care what it takes," Liam replied, a dangerous edge to his voice. "Find me something I can use." While Renata worked on that angle, Liam met with Preston to update him on the situation. "This changes things," Preston said after Liam explained about the tampered medication. "We need to file for an emergency restraining order against Vanessa and possibly Dr. Donovan as well." "Based on what evidence?" Liam asked. "We can prove the medication was tampered with, but we can't prove who did it." Preston frowned. "You're right. Without direct evidence linking them to the tampering, a judge might not grant the order." "Then we need to get that evidence," Liam said firmly. That evening, as Liam sat with his father watching an old Western, William Sr.'s favorite genre, his phone rang with a call from an unknown number. "Mr. Reynolds?" a hesitant female voice asked when he answered. "My name is Amara Johnson. I used to work for Dr. Bryce Donovan as his office manager." "Used to?" Liam asked. "I quit yesterday. I couldn't be part of what they're doing anymore." Her voice trembled slightly. "Dr. Donovan and your wife, they've been planning things. Terrible things. Against you and your father." Liam's grip tightened on the phone. I'm listening. They hired someone, a man named Trevor Daniels. I overheard them talking about medication and making it look like an accident. When I confronted Dr. Donovan, he fired me and threatened to ruin my career if I told anyone. Why are you telling me this? Liam asked, though he already suspected the answer. Because what they're planning is wrong, Amara replied simply. And because Dr. Donovan has done this before, ruined people's lives when they got in his way. He's not the respected doctor everyone thinks he is. Liam arranged to meet Amara the next day at a quiet cafe away from both his home and Bryce's practice. She turned out to be a young woman in her late 20s, with braided hair and intelligent eyes clouded by worry. I have documentation, she told Liam, sliding a USB drive across the table. Appointment records showing when your wife started seeing Dr. Donovan as a patient, emails between them that were definitely not doctor-patient appropriate, and a recording of them discussing plans with this Daniels person. You recorded them? Liam asked, surprised. Amara nodded. After I overheard the first conversation, I started recording everything. Massachusetts is a two-party consent state for recordings, so it probably can't be used in court, but I thought you should know what you're dealing with. Liam studied her for a moment. Why take this risk for me? You don't know me. Amara looked down at her coffee. My father died of cancer 3 years ago. The thought of someone tampering with a dying man's medication. She shook her head. I couldn't live with myself if I didn't say something. Later that day, Liam reviewed the files Amara had provided. The recording was damning. Vanessa and Bryce discussing with Trevor Daniels ways to accelerate the old man's inevitable demise to remove the distraction from their divorce proceedings. Vanessa's voice was clear as she authorized a payment of $50,000 for Daniels' services. Liam sat in stunned silence after listening to the recording. The woman he had married, had loved for 12 years, was plotting to kill his father to gain leverage in their divorce. The cold calculation of it chilled him to the bone. He immediately called Preston and Renata, arranging for them to meet at his house that evening after William Sr. was asleep. He also invited Dr. Laura Burke, whose insight he had come to value. This is beyond divorce tactics, Preston said after reviewing the evidence. This is conspiracy to commit murder. The recording isn't admissible in court, Renata pointed out. And without it, all we have is circumstantial evidence. So they get away with trying to kill my father? Liam demanded. Dr. Burke, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. What is it you want, Liam? Justice through the legal system? Protection for your father? Or revenge? Her question caught him off guard. I want all of those things. But which matters most? She pressed. Liam thought for a moment. Protection for my father comes first. Then justice. And if the legal system can't provide that, he left the implication hanging. Be careful, Dr. Burke warned. Revenge can consume you, change who you are. I'm already changing, Liam replied quietly. I have to protect what matters. After everyone left, Liam sat alone in his study, thinking. The rage that had been simmering inside him for weeks had crystallized into something cold and focused. Vanessa, Bryce, and this fixer Daniels had crossed a line. They had threatened not just his livelihood, but his father's life. It was time to show them that they had severely underestimated who they were dealing with. Chapter 6. Counterattack. Liam began his counteroffensive methodically, starting with protection. He hired a security firm specializing in high-risk individuals to install a comprehensive surveillance system around the house and provide 24-hour monitoring. He also employed a second nurse, Dylan, to ensure someone was with William Sr. at all times. For added safety, Liam moved his father's medications to a digital safe with his fingerprint as the only access method and instituted a strict protocol for all visitors to the house. Miguel and Dylan were instructed to accept no deliveries, allow no service personnel inside without prior verification, and keep a detailed log of everyone who entered the premises. With his father's safety secured, Liam turned his attention to gathering legitimate evidence against Vanessa, Bryce, and Trevor Daniels. He met with Renata to develop a strategy. Daniels is the weak link, Renata advised. He's a mercenary, loyal only to whoever pays him. If we can flip him, he could provide testimony against Vanessa and Bryce. How do we flip him? Liam asked. Money's the obvious answer, but he might be wary of a straightforward bribe. Another option is leverage, finding something he wants to protect. Liam nodded thoughtfully. Find out everything you can about him. Everyone has something they value, something they'd do anything to keep safe. While Renato worked on Daniels, Liam focused on Bryce Donovan. The information Amara Johnson had provided revealed that Bryce had a pattern of inappropriate relationships with patients, possible prescription drug fraud, and financial irregularities at his practice. Liam arranged a meeting with a medical board investigator named Philip Romano, who had previously handled one of the malpractice cases against Bryce that had been settled quietly. "I remember that case," Romano confirmed when Liam mentioned it. The evidence was compelling, but the victim suddenly changed her story and accepted a settlement. "It happens more often than we'd like. What if I told you there's a pattern?" Liam asked, showing Romano redacted versions of the documents Amara had provided, enough to demonstrate the ethical violations without revealing the recording about William Sr. Romano's expression hardened as he reviewed the files. "This is serious. Multiple instances of romantic involvement with patients, possible prescription irregularities. With this documentation, we'd have grounds for a formal investigation. I'll provide everything officially," Liam promised, "once I'm sure my father is safe." "Safe?" Romano looked up sharply. "Is someone threatening your father?" Liam chose his words carefully. "Let's just say Dr. Donovan's ethical lapses extend beyond romantic entanglements with patients." A week later, Liam received an unexpected visitor at his office, Bryce Donovan himself. Darlene showed him in reluctantly, after Liam assured her it was fine. Bryce, a handsome man in his mid-40s with artificially whitened teeth and carefully styled hair, took a seat across from Liam without waiting for an invitation. "We need to talk, Reynolds," he said, his tone somewhere between commanding and nervous. Liam leaned back in his chair. "About what?" "About this witch hunt you've started. The medical board contacted me yesterday about an investigation into my practice. My lawyer says someone provided them with documents, internal files that could only have come from my office." "How unfortunate," Liam replied evenly. "Perhaps you should be more careful about who you hire." Bryce's confident facade cracked slightly. "Let's cut the crap. You want me to back off, right? To end things with Vanessa and stop helping her with the divorce." "What I want," Liam said, his voice like steel, "is for you and Vanessa to face consequences for your actions. All of them. I don't know what you think you know. I know you and Vanessa hired Trevor Daniels to tamper with my father's medication." Liam interrupted. "I know you paid him $50,000 to make my father's death look like a natural progression of his illness." Bryce blanched. "That's absurd. You can't prove any of that." "Maybe not in court," Liam conceded. "But the medical board doesn't need the same burden of proof for an ethics investigation. Neither does the court of public opinion." Bryce leaned forward, his expression darkening. "Is that a threat? Because let me tell you something, Reynolds. You're not the only one who can play hardball. Vanessa knows things about you, things that could ruin that Boy Scout reputation of yours." Liam smiled coldly. "I doubt that very much, but feel free to try." After Bryce left, Liam received a call from Renata. "I found Daniel's weakness," she said without preamble. "He has a daughter, 19, a sophomore at Boston University. He keeps her existence completely separate from his work. She thinks he's a security consultant for tech companies." "That's useful," Liam noted. "What else?" "He's paranoid about her safety. Has cameras installed at her apartment, tracks her phone, the works. She's his blind spot." "Perfect," Liam said. "Set up a meeting." Trevor Daniels agreed to meet Liam at a quiet bar in Cambridge. He was a surprisingly unremarkable man. Average height, average build, with close-cropped gray hair and watchful brown eyes. Nothing about his appearance suggested his dangerous reputation. "You're either very brave or very stupid," Daniels said as Liam sat down across from him. "Not many people would arrange a face-to-face meeting with someone they believe tried to kill their father." "I'm neither brave nor stupid," Liam replied calmly. "Just thorough. For instance, I know about Ellie." Daniel's expression didn't change, but his eyes hardened. "Mentioning my daughter isn't the safe move you think it is." "I'm not threatening her," Liam clarified. "I'm establishing that I know what matters to you. Family, just like my father matters to me." "What do you want, Reynolds?" "Information. Evidence that Vanessa and Bryce hired you to tamper with my father's medication." Daniels gave a short laugh. "Even if that were true, and I'm not saying it is, why would I incriminate myself?" "Because I'm offering you immunity," Liam said. "I have a friend at the DA's office. Testify against Vanessa and Bryce, provide concrete evidence, and you walk away. No charges." And if I refuse? Liam's expression hardened. Then I'll ensure that Ellie learns exactly what kind of work her father does. I'll make sure every client you've ever had knows you can't be trusted. I'll dismantle your life piece by piece until there's nothing left. Daniels studied him for a long moment. You're not what I expected. I get that a lot lately, Liam replied. 3 days later, Liam received a package from Daniels containing a USB drive with recorded conversations between Daniels, Vanessa, and Bryce, along with financial transactions showing the payments. There was also a signed statement detailing the plan to tamper with William Sr.'s medication. Liam immediately took the evidence to Detective Michelle Torres, a homicide investigator recommended by Renata. After reviewing the materials, Detective Torres agreed to open an investigation. This is compelling evidence of conspiracy, she told Liam. We'll need Mr. Daniels to come in and formally testify, but with his statement and these recordings, we have grounds to arrest both your wife and Dr. Donovan. Within 24 hours, both Vanessa and Bryce were arrested and charged with conspiracy to commit murder. The story exploded across local media, with headlines emphasizing the shocking betrayal angle. Prominent doctor and estranged wife arrested for plot to kill terminally ill father. Preston called Liam as soon as the news broke. This changes everything with the divorce. With Vanessa facing criminal charges, the court will almost certainly rule in your favor on all counts. That's secondary right now, Liam replied. The important thing is that my father is safe. The next day, Liam visited his father, who had seen the news reports about Vanessa's arrest. Did you know? William Sr. asked weakly. About what she was planning? Liam nodded. We caught it before anything happened. You're safe now. William Sr. reached for his son's hand. You've become harder than I ever wanted you to be. I'm sorry for that. Don't be, Liam said firmly. I did what was necessary to protect you. Just be careful, son, his father warned. Revenge changes a man, makes him capable of things he never thought possible. That night, as Liam sat in his study reviewing work projects that had been neglected during the chaos, he received a text from a number he didn't recognize. We need to talk. It's about Vanessa and Bryce. There's more you don't know. Meet me tomorrow, 2 p.m., Castle Island Park. The text was unsigned, but Liam had a suspicion about who had sent it. He replied with a simple confirmation and then called Renata to arrange surveillance for the meeting, just to be safe. What he would learn the next day would change everything he thought he knew about Vanessa, Bryce, and their plot against his father, and would set in motion events that would test the limits of how far he was willing to go for justice. Chapter 7, Revelations. Castle Island Park was windswept and relatively empty when Liam arrived for the mysterious meeting. He spotted a solitary figure seated on a bench overlooking the water, a woman with dark hair blowing in the breeze. As he approached, she turned, and he recognized Amara Johnson, Bryce's former office manager. Thank you for coming, she said as he sat beside her. I wasn't sure you would. Your text said there was more I should know, Liam replied. I'm listening. Amara glanced around nervously before speaking. The plot against your father, it goes deeper than you think. It wasn't just about speeding things up to get leverage in the divorce. What do you mean? She took a deep breath. There's insurance. A lot of insurance. On you. Liam frowned in confusion. On me? What are you talking about? About 6 months ago, right around when your father's condition worsened, Vanessa convinced Bryce to help her take out a massive life insurance policy on you. $10 million. She forged your signature on the documents with Bryce's help. One of his other patients works in insurance and pushed it through without the normal verification process. Liam felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ocean breeze. You're saying she was planning to kill me too? Amara nodded grimly. The plan was to eliminate your father first, using the emotional distress as cover for an accident that would happen to you shortly after. How do you know all this? I processed the paperwork for Bryce. He needed medical records from your annual physical last year, the one you had at his colleague's practice. At first, I thought it was just for a recommendation, but then I saw the insurance documents coming through. Liam's mind raced. Do you have proof? Some, Amara said, reaching into her bag and withdrawing a manila envelope. Copies of the insurance application with your forged signature, emails between Bryce and the insurance agent discussing the policy, and notes from a meeting where they discussed the timeline. Liam took the envelope, his hand steady despite the turmoil inside him. Why didn't you bring this to me along with the other evidence? Amara looked away. I was scared. This is bigger. Murder conspiracy is one thing, but this involved more people, including someone at the insurance company. I wasn't sure who I could trust. What changed your mind? Their arrests, she said simply. I realized you deserved to know the whole truth. And, she hesitated, I found something else. Something personal. From her bag, she withdrew a second envelope. These are letters. From Vanessa to Bryce. They go back almost 2 years, long before your father got sick. She's been planning to leave you for a long time, but she wanted financial security first. The life insurance was her idea, not Bryce's. 2 years. The revelation hit Liam like a physical blow. His marriage had been a lie for far longer than he'd realized. There's one more thing, Amara added quietly. Bryce has a storage unit in Cambridge where he keeps sensitive documents. The access code is 4729. I think you'll find more evidence there. After parting ways with Amara, Liam immediately called Detective Torres to share the new information. She was alarmed by the insurance revelation. This elevates the case significantly, she said. We're no longer talking about a plot against your father, but a conspiracy to commit multiple murders for financial gain. I'll need those documents ASAP. Liam delivered the insurance evidence to the police station but kept the personal letters. Those were for him alone. That evening, he sat in his study, reading through Vanessa's letters to Bryce. They were chilling in their calculation, detailed discussions of how to maximize financial benefit from her marriage to Liam before leaving, complaints about his dedication to his work, mockery of his devotion to his father, and eventually, the first mentions of how convenient it would be if Liam were to die unexpectedly after taking out additional life insurance. He trusts me completely, one letter read. He'd sign anything I put in front of him without reading it. It would be so easy. The betrayal cut deeper than Liam had thought possible. It wasn't just that Vanessa had been unfaithful or that she had plotted against his father. She had been planning his death, calculating the financial benefits, for years. The next morning, Liam visited Bryce's storage unit, bringing Renata along as a witness. Inside, they found boxes of medical records, financial documents, and a laptop. This is a gold mine, Renata murmured as they sorted through the materials. Patient records he shouldn't have removed from the practice, evidence of prescription fraud, and she held up a folder, detailed notes on the plan to kill your father and you, including proposed methods to make each death look natural or accidental. Liam's face was grim as he examined a notebook containing handwritten timelines and calculations of expected insurance payouts. This is Vanessa's handwriting, he noted, recognizing the distinctive looping script. Is it wrong that I'm impressed by how thorough they were? Renata asked, flipping through a binder of research on untraceable poisons and their effects. This is practically a manual for perfect murders. Thorough but careless, Liam replied. They left all this evidence sitting in an easily accessible storage unit. People like Bryce never expect to get caught, Renata said. His type thinks they're too smart, too respected to ever face consequences. They turned everything over to Detective Torres, who was stunned by the volume of evidence. This isn't just going to put them away for the conspiracy charges, she told Liam. There's enough here to bring multiple additional charges: insurance fraud, identity theft, practicing medicine unethically. They'll be facing decades in prison. That afternoon, Preston called with an update on the divorce proceedings. The judge has granted an emergency petition to finalize the division of assets immediately, given the criminal charges against Vanessa, he explained. With the evidence of her criminal intent toward you, she's forfeited any claim to contested assets. The brownstone is unequivocally yours, and she'll receive only her personal property and the assets she brought into the marriage. What about the insurance policy? Liam asked. Invalidated completely. The insurance company is cooperating fully with the investigation, and the agent who processed the fraudulent application is also facing charges. It should have felt like victory, but Liam found himself hollow inside. The extent of Vanessa's betrayal had fundamentally shaken his understanding of the past 12 years of his life. Had any of it been real? Had she ever loved him? Or had she always been calculating his worth as a financial asset? That night, unable to sleep, Liam sat beside his father's bed, watching the old man's labored breathing. William Sr. had good days and bad days now, with the bad increasingly outnumbering the good. The oncologist had warned that he likely had only weeks left. I know you're there, William Sr. murmured, his eyes fluttering open. You should be sleeping. I can't, Liam admitted. Thinking about Vanessa? Liam nodded. I keep wondering how I missed it. How I could have been so blind. William Sr. reached out with a trembling hand, which Liam took gently. You weren't blind, son. You were loving. There's a difference. Love demands trust, and trust always carries risk. I'll never make that mistake again, Liam said firmly. His father shook his head weakly. That would be the real tragedy. If you let her coldness freeze your heart too. Before Liam could respond, William Sr. continued, his voice growing more urgent. Promise me something. When this is all over, when I'm gone and Vanessa and that doctor are where they belong, promise me you'll find a way back to who you were. The boy who saw the good in people. Liam swallowed hard. I don't know if I can. Try, his father insisted. For me. The next day brought news that the district attorney had offered plea deals to both Vanessa and Bryce. In exchange for testifying against each other and providing information on additional co-conspirators, including the insurance agent, they would receive reduced sentences, still substantial, but less than the maximum they faced. Bryce took the deal immediately. Detective Torres informed Liam. Vanessa is considering her options. She'll take it, Liam predicted. Vanessa always looks out for herself first. He was right. By that afternoon, both Vanessa and Bryce had accepted the plea agreements. They would each serve a minimum of 15 years, with the possibility of parole after 12. The case made national headlines. Plastic surgeon and trophy wife plot double murder for insurance millions. The story was picked up by true crime podcasts and TV shows, dissected in ghoulish detail by commentators fascinated by the cold calculation of the conspiracy. Liam avoided the media coverage, focusing instead on spending time with his father and rebuilding his architectural practice, which had suffered during the chaos of the past months. Several clients who had backed away during the height of Vanessa's smear campaign returned, impressed by his resilience and integrity throughout the ordeal. 3 weeks after Vanessa and Bryce's plea deals, Liam received an unexpected letter from the county jail where Vanessa was being held awaiting formal sentencing. He nearly threw it away unopened but decided to read it, not for closure, but to remind himself of what he had escaped. Liam, by now you think you know everything, but you don't. You think you've won, but this isn't over. I may have lost my freedom temporarily, but I still have something you don't. Friends on the outside who owe me favors. Remember that. You think you're so righteous, but we both know different. I've seen the darkness in you, the ambition, the ruthlessness you keep hidden behind that good guy facade. The only difference between us is that I admit what I am. Sleep well, Vanessa. Liam brought the letter to Detective Torres, who took it seriously as a potential threat. We'll look into any associates who might act on her behalf, she promised. In the meantime, maintain your security measures at home. The threat cast a shadow over what should have been a period of resolution, reminding Liam that while the immediate danger might have passed, Vanessa's capacity for malice had not been contained by prison walls. That realization cemented his determination, not just to protect himself and the memory of his father, who was weakening daily, but to ensure that Vanessa would never again be in a position to harm anyone. The question was how to accomplish that without crossing the moral lines his father had urged him to respect. The answer would come from an unexpected source, setting in motion the final act of his confrontation with Vanessa, a reckoning that would test both his resolve and his humanity. Chapter 8. The Reckoning. A week after receiving Vanessa's threatening letter, Liam was at his office reviewing plans for a new project when Darlene buzzed him on the intercom. There's a woman here to see you, she said. She doesn't have an appointment. Says her name is Lydia Monroe. Liam froze. Monroe, Vanessa's maiden name. Did she say what she wants? Just that it's personal and urgent. Curiosity overrode caution. Send her in. Lydia Monroe proved to be an elegant woman in her 60s, with Vanessa's same blonde hair, now streaked with silver, and the same sharp features, softened by age. The resemblance was undeniable. This was Vanessa's mother, whom Liam had met only once at their wedding. She had lived in Europe for most of their marriage, maintaining a distant relationship with her daughter. Mr. Reynolds, she said formally, extending her hand. Thank you for seeing me. Mrs. Monroe, Liam replied, shaking her hand. This is unexpected. I imagine so. May I sit? Liam gestured to the chair across from his desk. What brings you to Boston? Lydia sat with perfect posture, her hands folded in her lap. My daughter, obviously. Or rather, the situation she has created. She spoke with a slight accent, the result of decades living in France. I've been following the news reports. I came as soon as I learned of her arrest. To support her? Liam asked neutrally. A ghost of a smile touched Lydia's lips. No, Mr. Reynolds. To ensure justice is done. The statement caught Liam off guard. I don't understand. Lydia sighed deeply. I failed as a mother in many ways, but perhaps my greatest failure was not recognizing what Vanessa was becoming. I've spent years making excuses for her behavior, her coldness. I can't do that anymore. She reached into her handbag and withdrew a thick manila envelope. These are letters Vanessa sent me over the past 3 years. I've highlighted passages I think you'll find relevant to her case. She confided things to me that she shouldn't have. Plans, intentions, detailed fantasies about your death that predated even your father's illness. Liam accepted the envelope with growing disbelief. You're giving me evidence against your own daughter? I'm ensuring that a dangerous person faces appropriate consequences, Lydia corrected. Vanessa has always been troubled. As a child, she showed concerning tendencies, cruelty to animals, manipulation of other children, an inability to form genuine emotional connections. Her father and I sought therapy for her, but we also protected her from the natural consequences of her actions. That was our mistake. She leaned forward slightly. Mr. Reynolds, Vanessa will not stop. Even from prison, she will seek ways to harm you. These letters demonstrate a pattern of obsessive planning that the court should be aware of before sentencing. Why now? Liam asked. After all these years of enabling her? Lydia's composed facade cracked slightly, revealing genuine pain. Because I recently learned that I have less than a year to live. Pancreatic cancer. Ironic, given your father's condition. I've spent my life making excuses for my daughter, and I don't want to die knowing I failed to act when I could have prevented more harm. The revelation stunned Liam into momentary silence. Finally, he asked, Does Vanessa know about your diagnosis? Yes. Her response was to ask about my will and whether I'd considered more effective pain management options if things became difficult. Lydia's smile was bitter. Even facing my death, her concern was for my estate, not for me. After Lydia left, Liam examined the letters she had provided. They were damning, far more explicit than the ones Amara had found. In writing to her mother, Vanessa had felt free to express her darkest thoughts, including detailed scenarios of Liam's planned accidental death and calculations of how to maximize financial benefit. More disturbing were references to a contingency plan involving someone named Rafe, who apparently owed Vanessa for helping him avoid jail time years earlier. The details were vague, but the implication was clear. Vanessa had a backup plan if her initial murder plot failed. Liam immediately called Detective Torres and arranged to turn over the new evidence. She arrived at his office within the hour, her expression grim as she reviewed Vanessa's letters. This changes the risk assessment significantly, she said. These references to Rafe are concerning. We'll need to identify this person and determine if he poses an active threat. Can you increase security at the jail? Liam asked. Limit her communications? With this evidence, yes. I'll request that the judge revoke her communication privileges outside of her attorney. In the meantime, we'll assign additional patrol units to your home and office. That evening, as Liam updated Preston on the latest developments, his phone rang with a call from Miguel. Mr. Reynolds, the nurse said, his voice tight with urgency. You need to come home right away. Your father is asking for you, and Dr. Patel thinks it's time. Liam rushed home to find Dr. Patel and Dr. Burke already there, speaking in hushed tones outside his father's room. His vital signs are deteriorating rapidly, Dr. Patel explained gently. The cancer has spread to his liver and lungs. I don't believe he'll make it through the night. He's been asking for you, Dr. Burke added. He's still lucid, but in considerable pain. We've increased his morphine to keep him comfortable. Liam entered his father's room with a heavy heart. William Sr. looked impossibly frail, his once powerful frame now skeletal beneath the blankets. His breathing was labored, but his eyes were clear as they fixed on his son. There you are, he whispered. Liam sat beside the bed, taking his father's hand carefully, mindful of the four. I'm here, Dad. I'm not going anywhere. Good. Because I am. William Sr. attempted a smile, which turned into a grimace of pain. When he could speak again, he said, "I need to tell you something. About your mother." "Dad, you don't have to. Let me finish. It's important." William Sr. took a ragged breath. "I told you she came back, years later, and took my settlement money. What I didn't tell you was what happened after." Liam listened as his father recounted how he had tracked down his ex-wife to a small town in Arizona, where she was preparing to marry a wealthy older man. William Sr. had confronted her, not for revenge, but to understand why she had abandoned them. "She told me she never wanted to be a mother," William Sr. said, his voice fading. "That every day with us felt like drowning. And you know what? I believed her. I saw in her eyes the same emptiness I've seen in Vanessa's. Some people just aren't built to love, son." "What did you do?" Liam asked. William Sr.'s lips curled in a faint smile. "I let her go. Walked away. Could have ruined her new life, told her fiancé everything. But what would that have accomplished? Just more bitterness, more pain." He squeezed Liam's hand weakly. "That's what I want you to understand. True strength isn't in revenge. It's in knowing when to walk away." They talked through the night, about the past, about Liam's childhood, about the architectural firm William Sr. had been so proud to see his son build. As dawn approached, William Sr.'s breathing became more labored, his words more fragmented. "Promise me," he managed during a moment of clarity. "Don't let her poison the rest of your life. Find happiness again." "I promise," Liam whispered, tears streaming down his face. William Reynolds Sr. died as the first light of morning filtered through the window, his son holding his hand until the end. The funeral was held 3 days later, a simple, dignified service attended by colleagues from William Sr.'s construction days, friends from Liam's architectural circle, and unexpectedly, several former clients whose lives had been touched by buildings William Sr. had helped construct. As Liam stood at the gravesite, accepting condolences, Detective Torres approached. "I'm sorry for your loss," she said sincerely. "Your father seemed like a remarkable man." "He was," Liam confirmed. "The best man I've ever known. I hate to intrude on your grief, but there's something you should know. We identified Rafael Cortez, a former orderly at Massachusetts General who was caught stealing medications 3 years ago. Vanessa, who was on the hospital's volunteer board at the time, helped suppress the incident in exchange for future considerations." "Has he been in contact with her?" Liam asked. "No, and he won't be. We've placed him under surveillance. More importantly, the judge has revoked Vanessa's communication privileges based on the new evidence. She's effectively isolated until sentencing." The news should have been reassuring, but Liam felt a strange hollowness. In the wake of his father's death, the threat Vanessa posed seemed distant, almost irrelevant. What mattered now was honoring his promise to his father, to find a way forward that wasn't defined by bitterness or revenge. In the days that followed, Liam focused on settling his father's affairs and reconnecting with his work. The architectural firm had suffered during the tumultuous months of the divorce and criminal investigation, but loyal clients were returning, and new opportunities were emerging. 2 weeks after the funeral, Liam received a call from Preston. "Vanessa's sentencing hearing has been moved up," his lawyer informed him. "The judge wants to get this wrapped up quickly given the high-profile nature of the case. It's scheduled for next Monday." "Will I need to be there?" Liam asked. "Not technically, but it might be beneficial for the judge to see the human impact of her crimes. You could provide a victim impact statement if you wish." Liam considered this. A year ago, he would have jumped at the chance to face Vanessa in court, to have his say. Now he wasn't so sure. "I'll think about it," he told Preston. That evening, he received another unexpected visitor, Lydia Monroe, Vanessa's mother. She looked more haggard than during their last meeting, the effects of her illness beginning to show. "I heard about your father," she said as Liam invited her in. "I'm truly sorry for your loss." "Thank you," Liam replied. "How are you feeling?" Lydia gave a slight shrug. "Good days and bad. Today is manageable." She settled onto the couch, declining Liam's offer of tea. "I came because I'll be at Vanessa's sentencing. I thought you should know." "To support her?" Liam asked, echoing his question from their first meeting. "To witness justice," Lydia corrected, "and to formally disinherit her. My attorney will be filing the paperwork this week. Everything I have will go to a foundation for victims of domestic abuse and financial exploitation." The announcement surprised Liam. "That's definitive." "It's necessary," Lydia said firmly. As long as Vanessa believes she stands to inherit my estate, she has a motive to arrange another accident, this time mine. I'm removing that incentive. Liam nodded slowly, understanding the brutal calculation. Have you told her? Not yet. I'll inform her at the sentencing. Lydia's expression hardened. I want her to know that her actions have cost her everything, not just her freedom, but her future security as well. After Lydia left, Liam sat alone in his study, thinking about the approaching sentencing and what it would mean. The criminal case had consumed his life for months, driven by his determination to protect his father and see justice done. Now, with his father gone and Vanessa facing substantial prison time, what purpose would be served by his continued involvement? He thought of his father's final words, the emphasis on walking away, on not allowing bitterness to poison his future. Was attending the sentencing, delivering a victim impact statement, consistent with that advice? Or would it simply prolong his entanglement with Vanessa? The answer came to him in the quiet of the night, as he reviewed the architectural plans for a new project, a community center named in honor of William Reynolds Sr., funded in part by the proceeds from the sale of the Beacon Hill brownstone. Vengeance didn't require his presence in that courtroom. Justice would be served whether he witnessed it or not. The most powerful statement he could make was to move forward with his life, to build something positive from the ashes of betrayal. The morning of the sentencing hearing, Liam called Preston. I've decided not to attend, he said. I've submitted my written statement to the court, but I won't be there in person. Are you sure? Preston asked. This is your chance to face her, to have the last word. I've already had the last word, Liam replied. Everything that needs to be said is in my statement. Anything more would just be feeding something I'm trying to let go of. Instead of attending the hearing, Liam spent the day at the construction site of the William Reynolds Sr. Community Center, working alongside the builders, his hands remembering the skills his father had taught him decades earlier. That evening, Preston called with news from the sentencing. 25 years, he reported. No possibility of parole for at least 20. The judge cited the cold, calculated nature of the conspiracy and the profound betrayal of marital trust in his decision. And Bryce? Liam asked. 20 years. Slightly less due to his cooperation, but still substantial. The medical board has permanently revoked his license. What about Vanessa's reaction? Preston hesitated. She lost control when her mother announced the disinheritance in open court. Started screaming, had to be physically restrained. It wasn't pretty. Liam absorbed this information with a strange sense of detachment. The outcome was just, the punishment appropriate to the crimes, but he felt no triumph, no vindication, only a quiet certainty that this chapter of his life was finally closing. Thank you for everything, Preston, he said sincerely. I couldn't have gotten through this without you. What will you do now? Preston asked. Liam looked down at the architectural plans spread across his desk, not just for the community center, but for other projects that had been on hold during the chaos of the past year. I'm going to build things, he said simply. It's what my father taught me to do. As he hung up the phone, Liam realized that for the first time in months, the weight of rage and betrayal had lifted from his shoulders. In its place was something unexpected, not happiness, not yet, but the possibility of it. A foundation on which something new could be constructed, brick by careful brick. Chapter 9, Rebuilding. 1 year later, the William Reynolds Sr. Community Center stood complete, a striking blend of modern design and practical functionality that had already become a landmark in the neighborhood. Large windows flooded the interior with natural light, while the open floor plan created spaces that flowed naturally from one activity area to another. Most importantly, the building was accessible to everyone, with features designed to accommodate people of all abilities and ages. Liam stood at the entrance, watching as community members gathered for the official opening ceremony. Children raced through the gymnasium, seniors chatted in the comfortable lounge areas, and local artists admired the gallery space that would showcase neighborhood talent. Your father would have been proud, said a voice beside him. Liam turned to see Dr. Laura Burke, who had remained a friend and occasional counselor in the months following William Sr.'s death. I hope so, Liam replied. I tried to incorporate everything he valued: strength, accessibility, community. It's not just the building, Laura said. It's what you've done with yourself. The man I met a year ago was consumed by betrayal and vengeance. Look at you now. Liam smiled, acknowledging the truth in her words. The past year had been one of gradual healing and redirection. After Vanessa's sentencing, he had immersed himself in his work, expanded his firm, and reconnected with friends who had been neglected during his marriage. I had good guidance, he told Laura. From my father, from you. The opening ceremony was a success, with local officials praising the center's design and purpose. Liam's speech was brief, focusing on his father's legacy and the importance of creating spaces where community could flourish. He didn't mention Vanessa or the events that had led to the center's creation. That story belonged to the past. After the ceremony, as the crowd dispersed to explore the new facility, Liam found himself approached by a woman he recognized from the Architectural Review Board, Sofia Ramirez, a civil engineer whose thoughtful questions and insights had impressed him during the permit process for the community center. "Congratulations, Mr. Reynolds," she said, extending her hand. "You've created something truly special here." "Thank you," Liam replied, shaking her hand. "And please, call me Liam." Sophia smiled, a genuine, warm expression that reached her dark eyes. "The sustainable water system you implemented is particularly impressive. Not many architects prioritize environmental considerations to that degree." "That was actually inspired by something my father taught me," Liam explained. "He always said good construction isn't just about what people can see. It's about the systems that keep everything functioning properly." "Your father sounds like a wise man." "He was," Liam agreed. "Would you like a tour of the mechanical systems? There are some innovative features that didn't make it into the presentation." Sophia's eyes lit up with professional interest. "I'd love that." As they walked through the building, discussing technical details and design choices, Liam felt something he hadn't experienced in a long time. The simple pleasure of connecting with someone who shared his passion for creating meaningful spaces. Their conversation continued over coffee in the center's cafe, expanding from architectural topics to books, travel, and eventually, personal histories. Sophia, he learned, had overcome her own challenges, immigrating from Mexico as a teenager, working her way through engineering school, establishing herself in a field still dominated by men. "It hasn't always been easy," she admitted. "But difficulties either break you or forge you into something stronger." "I've learned something similar recently," Liam replied. At the end of the afternoon, they exchanged contact information, ostensibly for professional reasons. Sophia was working on a municipal project that might benefit from his firm's expertise, but Liam found himself hoping for reasons to continue their conversation beyond work. That evening, as Liam returned to his home in Lexington, smaller and warmer than the Beacon Hill brownstone had ever been, he reflected on how much had changed in a year. The house that had once been arranged around his father's medical needs had gradually transformed into a space that reflected Liam's own tastes and interests. Bookshelves filled with architectural volumes, a workshop where he built furniture in his spare time, walls adorned with photographs of buildings that inspired him. His phone rang. Renata Martinez, the private investigator who had become something of a friend during the investigation of Vanessa's crimes. "Just checking in," she said when he answered. "Annual security review still on for next week?" "Absolutely," Liam confirmed. Though the immediate threat had passed, he maintained reasonable security measures, not out of paranoia, but prudence. "How is prison treating our mutual acquaintance?" he asked, referring to Vanessa. "About as well as you'd expect," Renata replied. "My contact at the facility says she's not making friends. Apparently, plotting to murder your husband and his dying father doesn't endear you to fellow inmates." "And her mother?" Liam hadn't spoken to Lydia Monroe since the sentencing, respecting her desire to distance herself from the entire situation. Renata's voice softened. "She passed away 3 months ago. Peaceful, according to the hospice report. True to her word, her entire estate went to the foundation she established." The news saddened Liam, though he had expected it. Lydia had been in advanced stages of pancreatic cancer when he last saw her. "At least she found some peace at the end," he said. After hanging up, Liam sat on his back porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple. On the table beside him lay initial sketches for a new project, an innovative apartment complex designed specifically for cancer patients and their families, with features to maximize comfort, dignity, and connection during treatment. The idea had come to him during his father's final weeks, when he had observed how poorly conventional housing served the needs of the seriously ill and those caring for them. The project would be challenging, both technically and emotionally, but it felt right, a way to transform his painful experience into something that might ease others' suffering. His phone buzzed with a text message from Sophia. "Enjoyed our conversation today. The water reclamation system keeps impressing me the more I think about it. Would you be interested in consulting on our riverfront development? Completely understand if you're too busy with your firm's projects." Liam smiled as he typed his reply. "Not too busy at all. Would love to hear more about the riverfront project. Dinner sometime this week to discuss?" Her response came quickly. "Dinner sounds perfect. Thursday, 7 p.m.? I know a great place near the harbor." As Liam confirmed the plan, he felt a tentative optimism that had been absent for a long time. Life would never be what he had once envisioned. The betrayal and loss had changed him too fundamentally for that. But perhaps it could be something different. Something authentic, built on a stronger foundation. 3 months later, Liam stood in the office of the William Reynolds Sr. Foundation, which operated from a modest suite in his firm's building. What had begun as a personal memorial project had evolved into a nonprofit focused on 2 missions: providing architectural services for community-centered buildings in underserved neighborhoods and supporting cancer patients and their families with housing solutions during treatment. The foundation was small but growing, funded initially by Liam's own resources and increasingly by community donations and grants. Sophia had become involved as well, lending her engineering expertise to several projects and serving on the advisory board. Their professional collaboration had gradually evolved into something more personal. Dinners that had nothing to do with work, weekend hikes in the hills around Lexington, long conversations that ranged from architectural theory to childhood memories. Sophia understood loss, having lost her father to heart disease years earlier, and she respected the complex grief that still occasionally surfaced in Liam's life. "You've built something remarkable here," she told him as they reviewed plans for the foundation's newest project, a renovation of an abandoned school building into affordable housing for families of patients at the nearby Children's Hospital. "We've built it," Liam corrected, including her in the achievement. Sophia smiled, touching his hand briefly. "Your father's legacy continues in ways he probably never imagined." "He'd like that," Liam said. "He always believed in building things that last." Later that day, Liam received an unexpected letter from Trevor Daniels, the fixer who had testified against Vanessa and Bryce. Daniels had received a reduced sentence in exchange for his cooperation and was now in a minimum security facility. "Reynolds, you'll be surprised to hear from me, I'm sure. I've had a lot of time to think in here, and I wanted you to know something. In all my years doing the kind of work I did, I never met anyone who handled things the way you did. You could have gone darker, we both know it. There were moments when I saw it in your eyes. But you chose a different path, and I respect that more than you might expect. My daughter Ellie visited last month. First time I've seen her since my arrest. We're trying to rebuild something. Not sure if it's possible, but your example has me thinking maybe it is. Not looking for forgiveness or friendship. Just wanted you to know that sometimes the ripples of our choices reach further than we imagine." Daniels. The letter left Liam thoughtful. He had never considered how his decisions might influence someone like Daniels, whose life had been built around exploiting others' darker impulses. The idea that his restraint had somehow resonated with the man was both surprising and gratifying. He shared the letter with Sophia that evening as they prepared dinner in his kitchen, a routine they had fallen into twice a week, taking turns cooking for each other. "You did choose a different path," she observed after reading it. "When most people would have sought revenge, you chose justice. There's a significant difference." "My father's influence," Liam explained, chopping vegetables for the salad. "His last conversation with me was about the importance of walking away from bitterness, not letting it define me." Sophia touched his shoulder gently. "He gave you a powerful gift, perspective at a moment when you could easily have lost your way." Liam nodded, acknowledging the truth in her words. "I still think about Vanessa sometimes," he admitted. "Not with anger anymore, just wondering how someone becomes so empty inside." "Some people are broken in ways that can't be fixed," Sophia said softly. "The miracle is that you aren't one of them." 6 months later, on the 2nd anniversary of William Sr.'s death, Liam visited his father's grave alone. He placed a small model of the community center beside the headstone, along with fresh flowers. "Hi, Dad," he said quietly. Thought you'd like to see the finished product. The center's been open for almost a year now. Over 2,000 people use it every month. There's a waiting list for the after-school programs. He sat on the bench near the grave, continuing his one-sided conversation. The foundation's doing well too. We're breaking ground on the housing project for cancer patients next month. Sophia says the environmental impact study exceeded expectations. A slight breeze rustled the leaves of the oak tree shading the cemetery plot. You'd like Sophia, Dad. She's real, honest, sees things for what they are, but still believes in building something better. Liam paused, gathering his thoughts. I'm going to ask her to marry me. Not right away. We're both taking it slow, for good reasons. But someday. I wanted you to know that. He sat in silence for a while, feeling a complex mixture of grief and gratitude. I kept my promise, he finally said. I didn't let Vanessa's poison define the rest of my life. It was harder than I expected, but I'm getting there. As Liam left the cemetery, his phone rang. Sophia, checking in. How are you doing? She asked gently, knowing the significance of the day. I'm okay, Liam replied, realizing with slight surprise that it was true. Actually, I was wondering if you'd like to come over for dinner tonight. There's something I'd like to talk to you about. Of course, Sophia said. I'll bring dessert. Driving home, Liam reflected on the journey of the past 2 years, from betrayal and rage to a tentative new beginning. He had lost much, but had also discovered strengths he hadn't known he possessed and possibilities he hadn't imagined. The road ahead would have its challenges. The emotional scars of Vanessa's betrayal would never completely fade, and building a new relationship required courage that sometimes faltered. But for the first time since finding those divorce papers on his pillow, Liam felt genuinely hopeful about the future. His father had been right. True strength wasn't found in revenge, but in the ability to walk away from bitterness and build something new. It had taken Liam nearly 2 years to fully understand that lesson, but now that he did, he intended to honor it in everything he created: buildings, relationships, and the life that stretched before him, full of possibility. As he pulled into his driveway, Liam glanced at the small box sitting on the passenger seat, containing not an engagement ring, not yet, but a key to his home. A first step toward the future he was finally ready to embrace. Inside, he would prepare dinner for Sophia, open a bottle of wine, and take that step, not despite the pain of his past, but because of what it had taught him about what truly matters. William Reynolds Sr. would have approved. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.